So I made this list because I was in a meeting this morning, and I just kind of got frustrated with the teachers in this meeting and like not knowing how to be in a video conference call. And like there were certain things where I was just like, that's just rude. And so I came up with these 10 guidelines for video conferencing etiquette. And I like literally came up. I only have 9 right now. I'm sure I'll come up with a 10th one, and I'm sure that there's more than 10, but I was trying to keep it just at 10. Um, but the first one is, if you have the ability to have your camera on, then you should. It shows that you are engaged and you're listening, and it makes the visual connection like sense, since there is no physical one. Like if you were like in a normal whatever.
I'm a little torn
What do
on
you,
this one. I don't disagree with
why?
you, and I think that what you said is really important about making that physical connection. So I totally agree. I think that it's right on. But it's so weird because I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks of like whether we realize it or not, we're starting to develop online social norms. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Hmm.
like, you know,
I
you
know, and it's annoying.
I know, and you go to the same meeting with the same people week after week, and they kind of they're starting their habits, and I'm used to it. Like this person's never gonna have their camera on because they just don't. But then if like they're asked to speak, they'll turn it on. And so I don't know. I get it. Like I went to a meeting the other day that was like a professional meeting. It wasn't even like school district. It wasn't the people I work with. It was an outside vendor that we were meeting with, and they set the precedence. It was a Zoom meeting, and I got on with my camera, and none of them were on. Like they were just
That's
audio.
so awkward. Why, like that? Like to me, like that's so rude. Like,
I
how do I
know,
know if
but
you're paying attention? How do I know if you're even in front of your
well,
desk?
I think that may be the key there, because then I can multitask, and you don't know.
Exactly, and that's I to me, that's rude. If you're in a meeting and I'm talking to you, like, because if we were in a meeting face to face, you wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't
Right.
be on your phone. You wouldn't be googling whatever. Like, you wouldn't be doing whatever. Now, I mean, like, I get it. You're working from home, so
Right.
if a kid comes in and you turn off your screen because you don't want anybody to see what you have to do as a parent,
Right.
understood.
Well, and that's
That's
kind
why
of
the
where I am,
option's there.
because like at any given time you could come in and realize that my children need to potty right now, and that it's my job to pull their pants down, or whatever. So um, that's why I said I'm a little bit torn. But I think at the end of the day, I totally agree with you that it is our only opportunity for some kind of physical connection, even though it may be visual. But I think that that is important. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of. I mean, we might as well just call each other on the phone. So
Mm-hmm.
the whole reason we have video conferencing is so we can connect better. We can see facial, gestures, and we just have that opportunity to interact a little bit more. So I'm with you. Okay. So the first thing I guess that we need to keep in mind is let's make it our norm. If we all work together as educators, let's make it our norm. Like show your face, because we want to see you. We want to talk to you, because the most important thing about what we do is the relationships we have with each other and the culture that we create. And we can't create a good culture when we never see each other face to face.
Well, and another thing is that like when I'm giving my classes online, like I make my students have their camera on
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know what they're doing, and I know for a fact a lot of them just woke up at 11 o'clock,
Right.
and they're getting online just for me, and most of them are still in bed. Like no, like I need you to get up, I need you to do whatever, and I know that if they're just listening to me, they're laying back down in bed with their covers over their face and they're just listening, and maybe they're falling asleep. Like how do I know?
Yeah.
So, and like what I think what we can all agree on is that ultimately teachers are students. Teachers act just like students.
Right.
Doesn't matter how old they are, how long they've been teaching or whatever. Teachers act just like students. So if your students are acting like that and you ask that of them, then your principal and your administrators are going to ask that of you because you're probably doing the same exact thing.
Well, and it's also so important as educators to remember to model the way. Like they're going to do what we do.
Mhm.
And whether you go, well, the kids aren't in this meeting, but what you're doing is carrying over. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's also the kind of thing, you like put yourself in their shoes. If you are expecting them to show their face, you need to know what that feels like. And that's like a lot of times when we're in the classroom, like sometimes kids are getting bored, or they're falling asleep or whatever. And a lot of times, like, I will put myself in their seat and think, okay, I just spoke to them for 5 minutes straight, no wonder, because I wouldn't want to sit there and listen to that either. So yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta put yourself in their shoes and model the way. So, all right, what else you
Yeah.
got?
So I have, and this is one that I struggle with really hard because I'm using my laptop as a desktop right now. But have your webcam somewhere around your screen so it looks like you're looking at the person who is chatting with you. So like it doesn't have to be at the top, it doesn't have to be facing you directly, but it does need to be somewhere around. Like right now, I have two monitors and I've been trying to figure out how to get a new webcam because everyone's sold out. And the main monitor I use is this one that's right here. And I wish my camera was somewhere around here instead of right here where my laptop is,
Mm-hmm.
because right now I'm using my laptop as a desktop because that's all I have. I'm just kind of trying to make it through. But this keeps from weird angles from people and people feeling like you're not talking to them and they're only talking to the side of your face, which is a lot of comments that I've gotten from a lot of people, whether it be family or like other teachers and stuff. So like I think that yours is really nice. Like I can tell that it's right next to your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say, I don't know, maybe a 45-degree angle, because like if you stare directly into your camera, like, or I guess stare directly. Where's your camera at?
Right
Is that
there.
your camera's right
It's right
there?
there.
Where's your screen?
I have one screen here. Well, one's to the left and one's to the right. So if I'm directly at my camera, it looks like this. This is the screen I always look at. This is the screen where I keep all my reference material.
So I mean, what did you say? Like a 45-degree angle?
I have, yeah. No, mine's probably even. Yeah, sure. I'm not good at math. So yeah, 45-degree angle. That's pretty good.
Because like I think the angle that you're at is good because I can see your whole face. Like the angle I'm at is bad because like I don't even know if you can see my other eye. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's you gotta have it somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I don't know what I mean. Does that bother you? Does it not bother you?
Yeah, it does because I feel like you're talking to somebody else.
That's what my mom and sister say when I video chat with them.
Right. Like, look at me. Look at your camera. Well,
Like
now
that.
that you mention it, it's a little less offensive if you look at the 45, so that's okay.
So like if I look directly at my camera, I'm here. But if I had the camera that I've been trying to use,
Mm-hmm.
it would be here,
Yeah.
which would be perfect.
Yeah.
So okay, so and then I have number three is okay, this is something that's really bad with a personal friend of mine, and I think it's one of the reasons why he never has his screen on. But don't take up the whole screen with your face.
That is the worst.
like like I kid you not, there's some people who I have video chats with and they're straight up like or like this, and then like you only see like they only get like a little bit of their face like right here.
Uh-huh.
It's bad, and like I think that the camera should capture your whole head and a little bit of your shoulder. It doesn't have to be your whole upper body,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit of your upper body, and with some of the room to spare. So like there should be room around you.
Right. Yeah.
So again, Chris Pratt here is the prime example of what it should look like.
Yeah.
And he's even following the rule of thirds because like he's off to the
That's
side
right.
and like
You don't want me in
ah,
the middle.
he's really he's looking good.
That's the way
So
we
far
do
you've
it.
got gotten three out of the 10 because I just came up with the 10th one.
All right. All right. What you got for number 4? Let's see where I am on my score.
Okay, so now and this one's probably I think this one's the hardest one, especially with the state of like the economy and the state of like a lot of stuff, and because it's hard and there's a lot out there and it's very tough to know what needs to get done, and it takes a lot of know-how, but it really doesn't. Just people think it does. Is that quality matters.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that your video and your audio comes through clearly and good. No one wants to see pixels or electronic crackling or distortion, electronic distortion. I think we all kind of know what I'm talking about. This is how people are going to see you and interact with you. If the quality is bad, then your message or delivery could not be received as well.
Yeah. And I think, like, I know there's some people just hanging in there. This isn't what they planned. Maybe their stuff is somewhere else, or they just didn't have stuff at home. And so, I mean, we're not knocking anybody, but at the same time, if we do this for an extended amount of time, that is definitely something to be thinking about as you prepare, that you want to set yourself up for success just like you would in the classroom. And I think one of the things that we've got to consider as we move forward is, if for some reason we do continue to do virtual learning, whether it is by choice or whether it is by mandate, whichever the case may be, you want your virtual classroom, you want your digital classroom to be just as engaging and just as prepared as your regular classroom. I know teachers on the first couple of weeks before school starts, man, we need more time in our rooms, and everybody's like freaking out putting up bulletin boards, right? And then at your house, like, what's going on behind you? And so those are just some things to think about. Like, you gotta take that initiative, because kids notice. And look, the last thing you want is kids talking about your house. So
Yeah. Well, and think of it this way. Like, imagine if you were in your classroom like normal, and you're up there and you're teaching, you're giving your lesson or whatever, and for whatever reason you just randomly got blurry,
well,
or randomly
I
like
think that
and you're talking like, and then we're gonna take the derivative, and then it's gonna go over here, and da, da, da. Did everybody get that?
right.
Like, I imagine like if you were in your normal classroom and that happened.
Right. So there's definitely some things to think about. One of the, like a little bit of shout out. One of the principals in my district, the junior high principal, he does a great job, because what he did is I don't know if he recreated it or if he went up to the school, but like one of the major like walls that they have at the school with like their, school logo and like some great like reminders and sayings and stuff, he went and put that in his house, and that's his backdrop whenever he's talking to people. So it's almost like he's at school, but he's at home, because he's taken the time to be intentional to create that environment, so that when people see the environment, they're reminded of the mission.
It's funny because I kind of made a joke to him today, because I was like, "Oh, that's cool. It's kind of like the old version of like the green screen that you can do with the Google Meet." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't know how to do that, so I just made a real background."
That's awesome.
So, and if anyone out there who's like listening, who's like, "Well, yeah, I want to have like good quality stuff, but I just have no idea what to get." Like, blue micro. What you honestly, the two things you need to know is you don't need anything fancy. A USB microphone is more than good enough. Okay, don't worry about if anyone tells you that quality is bad. Like, all you're doing, I hate to say it like this, but all you're doing is teaching. You're not recording piano or any musical instruments. Like you're all you're doing is your voice. So a USB mic is fine, and you can get a USB mic pretty cheap at like Target or Walmart. There's a brand called Blue. We're not sponsored by them, but
We're
they're
not
good.
sponsored by anybody.
But it's a good little microphone, and same thing with Blue also has some really good headphones that are pretty cheap if you wish to have headphones as well too. And then same thing with like a webcam. I'm currently in the market for one, and I'm finding that you can get a good HD webcam that's 1080p for about $50 again. So for about $100, you can have like a really nice like classroom setup for online learning, and I think that's more than reasonable considering what all things considering.
Well, and if
So
this does end up being your classroom, $100 is way less than you would have spent on your classroom bulletin board. So
yeah, yeah, that's true too. So, and I mean, there's other things we could go into, like making sure that the room that you're in is good or whatever. But I think just the quality. I think quality really, really matters, and a lot of people are just kind of shrugging it off as like, oh, well, this is my computer, and I've had it since 2006, and it's just trugging along. Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying. So, all right. So the next one is, and I think this one links a lot to the first one for why people.
what?
You can't. You were you were like looking. You're like, bam.
Well, I'm trying to pay attention to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, I think this is probably one of the reasons why a lot of people turn off their webcam.
Right.
Number 5 is remember that you're in front of people. It's really, really easy to forget that you're in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Really easy. And especially like it's easy to forget that you could be in front of like 100 people. And never forget the size of the chat room that you are in front of. And remember that you're in front of all of these people regardless of how comfortable you feel in your home.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of us will feel like, oh, I'm at home, I'm super cool. Oh yeah, like ooh, that's gross. Like
Right.
like remember, like especially when you get into those big faculty meetings that have like 100 people.
Okay, so like I have to just say, when I'm in those meetings like that, I totally just watch everybody. I mean, I pay attention, I do, but like I'm like, hey, what's their house look like? Like I'm totally like that. I mean, and I don't think that I think that's fair. That's fair. I mean, you're inviting me into your home, right? Like I should get to look. So
Mm.
I think it's really funny because a lot of times I have found myself like I'll do something and then I'll like you're saying and I'll remember, oh no, like I forgot, and then I'll think like nobody probably saw that. I promise you, I saw it because I'm I'm the one looking for that moment, and then like I'm laughing really hard on the inside. Like the other day, a girl straight up like picked her nose, and I'm like, who's gonna pick their nose like that? So yeah, it somebody's watching.
So maybe in quality matters in rule 4, or not rule but guideline 4, we also put like have a clean room.
Yeah,
Just make sure that like the space that you're recording in is good.
yeah. Your whole room doesn't have to be clean, just what the camera sees.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's a really fair thing, is that because I know that I forget that I'm in, like this morning I forgot that I was in front of him and nothing happened. I was just sitting there and like I was listening to Broussard and I was kind of zoning out, and then I looked over at the top right hand corner of the Google Meet and I saw 96, and I was like, whoa, there are 96 people in this meeting right now. So
Yeah.
all right, which I guess this also kind of lends itself to number 6, and I think this is the biggest joke that you hear all the time when people who work from home and like what people are doing now. And number 6 is wear a complete outfit.
Right.
So like you never know when you have to get up, and it'll be really awkward if you're wearing a suit on top and PJs on the bottom.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna
Like
say, like, if for some reason you couldn't get that to work out, like I don't know, maybe the laundry did only half the load or something, then that is, I think, definitely the time. Go ahead and turn your camera off and deal with the repercussions, because I think it'd be better to just turn your camera off for a second and fix that situation than to have memories forever. So
it's funny too because this has been an inside joke with PewDiePie for like years. His whole, because he like just does videos like this,
hmm
and so his whole fan base started asking. They didn't ask the question like are you like wearing pants or whatever. Their questions were, do you even have legs? Like we only we only see the upper half of you. Like, do your legs even exist? Like we never see them. So make like, and this actually happened to me. I had an interview for a new teaching job, a different position. I switched from being a band director to something else, and I was like, "Oh, it's no big deal. Like, like I don't need to get fully dressed in my suit. I'm just gonna wear my suit jacket and like my tie and look really good, and I'll just continue wearing my basketball shorts because I know I'm gonna get hot and sitting in my chair for that long of time." And they something happened. I think there was still a cat in the room or something, and the like I was already in the meeting, but the meeting hadn't started yet. You know what I mean? I was already in the chat room, and one of the principals popped in and was start making conversation, and I was like, "Oh, hang on, let me get my cat so that way it doesn't bother us." And I get up, and you just see like this fully dressed, like perfectly professional all the way to the waist, and then basketball shorts. And I was like, "Oh no!" And like I turned off my camera real quick, and I was like, "I'm about to interview for this job," and like
that's
that's what I
bad.
look like.
That's
I was
bad.
like, "Mistake." Like, so make sure that like you wear complete outfits.
Yeah. So Tyler's currently unemployed. All right, moving on.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and this is one that I thought of today in my meeting because we were talking about something, about culture, and how like we're in a spot where matters way more than academics at the moment, because the only way we're going to get the kids engaged is the culture and whatever. And there's a book called The Culture Code by I actually have it right here, Daniel Coley, Coyle. I don't know if I said that right, but and it's a really good book, and I know that there's a few teachers who read it. So in the chat, I like put I was like, Daniel Coley be proud or whatever with like what we're doing. And then I looked and like the little side of my screen, whatever, like it swapped out with different people, and my superintendent was here, and I was like, not that that was bad, but it definitely wasn't like a professional thing to be said. And then I looked and I saw that there was a lot of like upper admin that were in my meeting, and I was like, when did they get in here? Like, did they get in here before me? Like, did I not see that it said that they had joined the meeting? Like, what's going on? So, like, remember, anyone can be in these chats. Like, there's no telling who could pop into your chat room, who could pop into your classroom while you're giving a lesson or whatever. Your boss, your supervisor, your department chair, like whoever. And it's hard to tell if they're even already there, especially if you're dealing with really big chat rooms of like 100 plus, because then like it's hard to tell if if that one boss person's like even there. So and this kind of goes back to remember that you're in front of people, because like it's easy to forget where you are and how many people are there, you know what I mean? And like you never know who's there. It's just like the data walk when like you're teaching a lesson and you turn around and they apparently have been there for like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and then you sit there and think like, oh, was I doing well?
Right. Well, it's just kind of, that really, I mean, for just to kind of sum it up, it's like just live with integrity. In other words, like whatever's right, do it all the time. And then you don't find yourself in awkward situations.
Yeah, and I feel like there's like this level of, I don't know if it's detachment, but people think that they can get away with a lot of things in a video chat because it's a video chat and not in person.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, like, everyone still sees that. Everyone still
Well,
hears it. It doesn't matter if you did it in person or not.
yeah, and it's probably being recorded. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. That girl who picked her nose probably got recorded. It'll be there forever.
Show up on Twitter. All right.
All right, number 8, and I think this is a really really big one, is learn the actual video chatting software.
Mm,
Like, learning technology takes a lot of time, but once you figure it out, you figure it out, and you never have to learn it again, really.
yeah.
Even through updates and whatever, like, it'll change slightly, but very rarely does an update come along that completely changes everything. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And if that happens, that means that new hardware has been developed. So take the time and to learn how the program fully works. I can't tell you how many teachers I've troubleshot with, and like they're like, I don't know, they just can't hear me on the video chat. And I'm like, well, you go down here and you hit this little microphone button, and if it's red, that means they can't hear you. But if it's not red, that means they can hear you. And they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Know your stuff.
So you got anything on that one, digital technology person?
No, I think, well said. Well said.
Okay, number 9 is mute yourself unless you are talking.
That's a big one.
I think that's a really big one.
And especially if you're not really familiar with like technology and the way audio works in technology, but that is like the number one way to get feedback and to distort everybody's sound is whenever it's coming through your speakers and then it's getting back into your microphone and then it's coming through your speakers and back to your microphone. That's called reverb. And so, yeah, just mute yourself when you're not talking.
Yeah.
And trust me, if
And then,
you forget to unmute, they'll tell you.
yeah, because it'll be silent movie for a few
Right.
seconds, and those few seconds feel like an eternity.
Yes. And then suddenly, like, you totally forget how to mute or unmute, and you're like looking through, like, every tab on your
You're like,
thing.
suddenly Google, like, how does a computer even work?
Right, exactly.
Another thing that he was talking about with the surroundings and stuff, like, you're never fully certain what's going to happen around you. Like, someone could be mowing the lawn, screaming
Mm-hmm.
kids could run in.
Mm-hmm.
You could just have a bad microphone. Like, there's tons of things that could cause unwanted audio that could give feedback that's unwanted from people who are in the chat.
Yeah.
And also, I thought of this earlier today too, is that it shows if you want to talk, because like you can see if people are muted or not, and if you're in the middle of talking and someone like unmutes themselves, then you can see that, and it's very obvious that that person wants to chime in and say something,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it's almost kind of like raising your hand or letting people know that you want to talk.
That's good.
And then this is the last one, and I think this is one that a lot of people have been a culprit of, especially with a lot of this stuff, is that be where you need to be in order to take the conference call. just because you can take the call anywhere doesn't mean you should take the call
I
anywhere.
like that.
Because like there's been a lot of teachers who have joined into our meetings, and I can tell that they're on the road, they're driving somewhere, or that they're like on the pier fishing, or they're clearly doing something, and they're only chiming in because they know that they have to. And it's kind of like, well, where are you going, dude? Like, obviously, you're not treating this like your real job because, like, you're going somewhere else. Like, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. Now, I realize that there are some circumstances that might cause you to have to, like, you're doing something, you might have to take it in a weird place, but like, treat this as if it was a normal school day. Treat this as if it was your normal job. Have your setup at home, have your office,
Mm-hmm. and
and
and I think it's important maybe just to interject this is your normal job right now. Like this isn't
yeah.
just like a little special thing we're trying out. Like this is the substitute that we have right now, and so we have to take it seriously, and we have to give our respect to the administration, respect to ourselves and our profession, okay, and then most of all respect to the kids that we're trying to help and that we're responsible for. And I agree with you, Tyler. I think that it's just super important that we not take for granted the opportunity as educators that we have right now. And, I would encourage people to not look at it as a negative, but look at it as you have some time right now to figure this out. So even if you do go back to the classroom, think what you're going to be able to take back with you because of the experiences that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
So be there, be present.
And let me tell you what, man, when we go back, like, because we will go back, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Right.
But like, so when we go back, it's going to be different. Like, I have a really strong feeling that because in the past, it's been like, here's some online resources. Like, we strongly urge you to do online stuff, like, incorporate technology. Like, that's been a big buzzword in education. But I don't think it's going to be an option anymore. I don't think it's going to be a cute little, hey, this is what you can do if you want to. I think it's going to be a mandate. Like, you must have all of your stuff online. You must understand technology. And if you don't, then you're not going to have any room in this like career.
You
And
know,
not just teaching, but anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I hope what we're doing, at least here during this show in the Quarantine Files, is we're kind of giving you a perspective to run with. That, if you think about it, things are changing, times are changing. And, hopefully we're at least able to talk about some issues and some things to consider to help everybody as we move forward. So I think these things were good today. Thank you, Tyler. Top 10, what was it? Video conferencing etiquette.
I guess. I don't know. It's a working title.
It's a working title. I like it. So that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining in today. Thanks for listening. If you have any ideas or suggestions or questions, feel free to email us at info@teachbigger.com. So that's info@teachbigger.com, and we'll catch you tomorrow.